Welcome back to Nation of Glory. Today, we bring you the story of a man whose fists shook the world, whose name became a legend, and whose journey is one of the most extraordinary tales in the history of sports. This is the story of Michael Gerard Tyson, better known as Iron Mike, the kid from Brooklyn who rose from nothing to become the youngest heavyweight champion of the world, a figure both feared and adored, and a man who turned his pain into power. Stay with us, because this is not just boxing, it's life, tragedy, and triumph all in one. Mike Tyson's story begins in the tough streets of Brooklyn, New York. Born on June 30, 1966, his childhood was anything but easy. Tyson grew up in Brownsville, one of the hardest neighborhoods in the city. Poverty, crime, and violence surrounded him, and his father abandoned the family early on, leaving his mother, Lorna, to raise him and his siblings alone. It was a world where survival meant toughness, and for young Mike, fighting became second nature before he ever stepped into a ring. By the age of 13, Tyson had been arrested numerous times for petty crimes. But beneath the trouble, there was something extraordinary about this boy. He had a presence, a raw aggression, and most importantly, a natural fighting instinct. His life would take a turn when he was sent to a reform school, where he was introduced to a man who would change his destiny forever, Cus D'Amato. Cus was more than a boxing trainer. He was a father figure, a mentor, and a believer in discipline, strategy, and mental strength. He saw in Tyson what no one else could see at that time: a future heavyweight champion of the world. Cus taught him not just how to fight, but how to think, how to control his emotions, and how to channel his rage into greatness. Under Cus's guidance, Tyson trained with relentless dedication, molding his body and sharpening his mind. When Tyson stepped into the professional boxing world in 1985, he was just 18 years old. But the world quickly realized that something special had arrived. His speed, power, and ferocity were unmatched. He didn't just beat opponents, he demolished them. His punches came like lightning, his movements like a predator hunting prey. Fans began calling him Kid Dynamite because every punch felt like an explosion. In just 2 years, Tyson became a force of nature. The world had never seen a heavyweight move so fast, punch so hard, and dominate so completely. On November 22, 1986, history was made. At just 20 years old, Mike Tyson became the youngest heavyweight champion in history after knocking out Trevor Berbick. The crown fit him perfectly, but it was more than a title, it was redemption for a kid who came from nothing. The reign of Iron Mike had begun, and for the next few years, he was unstoppable. He unified the heavyweight division, beating champions like James "Bone Crusher" Smith, Pinklon Thomas, and Tony Tucker. His knockout of Michael Spinks in 91 seconds remains one of the most shocking moments in boxing history. Tyson wasn't just a fighter, he was a phenomenon. He became the baddest man on the planet, and when his name was announced, opponents often looked beaten before the first punch was even thrown. But Tyson's story is not only about triumph, it's also about the struggles that came with fame and fortune. With money and power came distractions, temptations, and troubles. His marriage to actress Robin Givens was filled with controversy. Personal battles spilled into the media, and his once unshakable focus began to waver. In 1990, the unthinkable happened. Tyson stepped into the ring against Buster Douglas in Tokyo, Japan. Tyson was a 42-1 favorite, expected to win easily. But Douglas had other plans. On that night, Tyson looked vulnerable, and in the 10th round, Douglas delivered a knockout that shocked the world. The invincible Iron Mike had fallen. It was a reminder that even legends are human. The years that followed were some of the darkest in Tyson's life. In 1992, he was convicted and sentenced to prison, a period that tested his strength in ways no boxing match ever could. Behind bars, Tyson reflected on his life, his mistakes, and his future. For many, it seemed his career was over. But Mike Tyson was not done. In 1995, Tyson returned to the ring with the same ferocity that had once made him unstoppable. Fans filled arenas to see if the old Tyson was back. And for a while, he was. He knocked out opponents with ease, reclaiming the WBC and WBA heavyweight titles. But controversy followed him everywhere. One of the most infamous moments in sports history came in 1997 during his rematch with Evander Holyfield. After losing to Holyfield the previous year, Tyson was desperate to win. But in a shocking moment, Tyson bit Holyfield's ear not once, but twice, leading to his disqualification. The world was stunned. The once feared champion had now become a figure of ridicule, his reputation damaged. Yet even in his darkest chapters, people couldn't stop watching Tyson. He was unpredictable, raw, and real. He represented both greatness and chaos, a man battling not just opponents in the ring, but also his own demons. As the years passed, Tyson continued to fight, but the dominance of his youth was gone. Losses piled up, and by the early 2000s, the era of Iron Mike in boxing was drawing to a close. He retired officially in 2005, leaving behind a record of 50 wins, 6 losses, and 44 knockouts. But the story of Mike Tyson didn't end with boxing. In the years after retirement, Tyson surprised the world. He showed a different side of himself, one filled with reflection, humility, and even humor. He appeared in movies, including the hit comedy, The Hangover, where audiences laughed at his playful self-parody. He launched a one-man show, sharing his life story on stage, raw and unfiltered. He even turned to podcasting with Hot Boxin' with Mike Tyson, where he speaks openly about his journey, his mistakes, and his search for peace. And then, in 2020, at the age of 54, Tyson shocked fans again when he stepped back into the ring for an exhibition match against Roy Jones Jr. The world tuned in, not to see who would win, but to witness the spirit of Iron Mike still alive. And he delivered strong, sharp, and still carrying that aura of greatness. Mike Tyson's legacy is not defined by a single fight, a single victory, or a single mistake. It is the story of a man who rose from the harshest conditions to the very top of the world, stumbled, fell, and yet kept finding a way to rise again. He showed the world that even legends are flawed, but also that redemption is always possible. From the streets of Brooklyn to the world stage, from the youngest heavyweight champion to a cultural icon, Tyson's journey is one of resilience, transformation, and survival. He was feared, he was loved, he was criticized, and he was celebrated. And through it all, he remained unforgettable. Today, when people think of Mike Tyson, they don't just remember the knockouts or the controversies. They remember the fire, the determination, the man who fought not just with his fists but with his life. Tyson once said, "Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth." And maybe that's the essence of his story. Life punched him many times, but he always found a way to stand back up. So, as we close this story of Iron Mike, let us remember that greatness is not about never falling, it's about rising after every fall. Tyson's life reminds us that no matter how tough the fight, there is always a way to keep going. He was the baddest man on the planet, but he is also a symbol of resilience, a man who turned pain into power, and whose story will live forever in the history of sports and in the hearts of millions. Thank you for watching this powerful journey of Mike Tyson here, on Nation of Glory. If you enjoyed this story, and want more incredible journeys of legends like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and share it with friends who love stories of resilience and glory. Until next time, stay strong, stay inspired, and keep fighting your own battles with the heart of a champion.